Hello, and welcome to our show.
So, we're smoking. This is a semi-recent tobacco, is it not?
It is in the last couple months, I believe.
Mm-hmm. It's a Cornell and Deal's Tom Eltang mixture. So, Tom Eltang, what was the story behind it?
I think he blended them, and
Yeah, he blended
Sykes
them.
Wilford set it up.
Right, because he wanted an everyday smoke.
Mm-hmm. I think he has 4 blends.
Very little. Okay, it might not have been this one then, because I know he wanted to do something with
or maybe
very
just
little
one.
perique, very little perique, because so that it would be a little mellower and smoother and be more of an everyday smoke.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, there are many people who, like yourself, who love heavy periques all the time.
It is true.
It's quite good. It is mellow in the perique. I like that. When we are drinking, what are we drinking?
Well, hold on.
Yeah, what is that pipe you're smoking?
This is just a little billiard shot pipe with. This was a tester for some Japanese ebonite, a new supplier.
Mm-hmm.
Seems to be holding up well.
Mm-hmm.
No complaints.
This is an old pipe. That was a little. Grain wasn't quite there. It's pretty hefty, pretty big, wide Dublin thing. So another shot pipe. Yeah. So what are we drinking?
I like this. It's heavy on the red Virginias and the burley. I can hardly tell that there's perique.
Yeah, perique or burley. It's very, very light in.
But I really like the reds. The reds sing.
A delicious broken flake featuring a classic pairing of red and bright Virginias, with the addition of a mellow-flavored, cool-smoking dark burley and flavor-brightening perique. There you have it.
Okay.
What are we drinking?
This is Founder's Black Rye, dry hopped dark ale brewed with rye.
It tastes like rye. It has that subtle, instead of if you ever had like a chocolate stout and you have that slight chocolate flavor, it's the same thing, but rye. And
it's got a real crisp, bitter. Rye is very unique. I don't know.
Yeah, it goes well with it. It said it hopped, right?
Dry hopped, yeah. 78 IBUs. This is
very
from
good.
Our friend Paul Elder. Thank you, Paul. This is brewed in Michigan, Grand Rapids.
7.5%.
Mm-hmm. So we can't actually get it here in California. So this is a nice little treat.
Yeah, indeed. Right. For those of you who are on Facebook, we have been kind of down on Facebook by accidentes. We have been using a personal profile as J&J Pipes for a few years now, and they finally said, "Hey, that's not a real name. You need to switch to a business account." And so it's taking a long time.
There are a lot of hoops to jump through, actually, to transfer all of the stuff. Mm-hmm. So, a surprising amount of hoops with a surprising amount of what do you call it? Invasive personal information being required.
Yes.
So,
anywho,
yeah.
So we will be back on Facebook as soon as they let us. If you want to contact us otherwise, I have a personal account, John, John, B, Close, Klose.
Yeah. Or we both have phone numbers on the website.
Right. So.
Or our email. So there are many ways to get in contact with us.
Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, back on the ranch, what do you have over there on the bench?
This is a pipe that we made recently. It is
a sweet blasted volcano.
Quite nice.
With a long antler shank extension.
A really gorgeous piece of antler.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the blast is just wicked.
Yeah, it's a military mount.
Mm-hmm. It's got a little copper insert there at the back.
Yeah.
Just a great pipe. If you have any questions about it, we could give you some dimensions or more details and pictures and stuff. So contact us.
But not on Facebook.
But not on Facebook.
Right.
We're trying not to curse on this show, but this is the one time I won't do it, but
You want to.
I want to.
Facebook.
All right.
Anyhow. So this pipe that we've been taking through for the last few weeks and so.
What did we talk about last week?
We talked about the finish shaping.
Finish shaping.
Yeah, perfect. So this week we're going to be talking about it's ready for a stem prep, basically.
Mm-hmm.
We could just go ahead and finish this and then make a stem for it, but why? It's more fun to finish the pipe when it's all together. I think. So, because, the stem has its own elements to it that can affect your decision making in the final stages of finishing the pipe. In my opinion. So, we're going to show you some footage we actually haven't shot yet.
Well, it's pretty straightforward.
It is.
You basically, if you want an accent, now is the time to kind of figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to choose a piece of ebonite rod, cut it to length, and you also want it to be the right diameter for your
right. This is
whatever you're going to do.
What's called a faux military, and because the shank face is at an interesting angle, the saddle's going to be interesting. A lot of people just put a straight flare or a straight saddle on on a sideways shank face. We prefer to try and match the saddle or the flare to the shank face in some regard. So that's going to be interesting. That'll probably be next week's or something.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons I like to do that, and John, we like to do that, is that the stem is part of the pipe. It should flow. It shouldn't just be a standalone piece. It should be one cohesive piece.
Right.
With the stummel. Yeah,
the stem is supposed to be matched and made for the pipe, in our opinion. So,
especially when you have something like a freehand.
Yeah, agreed.
There's really no question you should be matching.
Yeah,
on some level.
So, you have to figure out the right length of the stem. Cut it with the bandsaw. And then this is where the lathe work kind of comes into effect.
Right.
You have to face it and either turn down your tenon or put a Delrin tenon in. And so that'll fit flush, which is a pain.
And once you know how a lathe works and you kind of get the hang of the lathe, this part of it is pretty straightforward.
Right.
There's no magic here as far as the actual engineering.
Oh, there is. There's lots of magic.
But I mean, it's easy to understand the concepts of what are happening.
Totally. I'm just messing. So, after you make it fit, speaking of which, we had a question about what the tool was that we used for making the flush mount full military, and that is called
a counter bore.
Right. But it was
I think I bought it like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And we didn't have a use for it because we didn't have the know-how to actually modify it in the right way.
Right.
And so we finally figured it out last year or something. It's really useful for doing stuff like this. It just saves you a step later on.
Yeah. So it's it's highly modified counter bore. You can't just buy one and use it that way. You have to tweak it, like a lot of tools. So anyhow, have to turn down the rod so it'll fit in there, as well as getting your tenon so that you can get the rod into the pipe so that they meet. And we talked about tenon and mortise fits a while back.
Do we want to put anything on, like a piece of orange or anything?
Mm,
Or just a straightforward?
I don't think so.
No. Okay.
Yeah, not for this one.
It's going to be a blast.
Well, because the the plateau here is very close to there, and if we had an orange piece in the stem, we'd have to have an ebonite sliver on the front one. We don't have to. We could just have the orange go flush fit to it.
Really?
I mean, we could have a piece of orange sticking out there, but if we're going to do a weird side saddle, we can do what we normally do with like the oval.
No, we'd have to do just a sleeve.
Mhm.
And then use the French wheel and get it on.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't think it's a wise
but then you
decision
risk
for
the
this.
glue line.
Yeah.
Okay, we're not going to do it. Just a simple, straightforward ebonite stem.
I think it'll look better with this particular piece.
Okay.
So yeah, then you do that, and then once it's prepped, then you get the rod in the stem, and then you've got to funnel the airway.
Right.
Which we also showed in one of our very early episodes, but we'll show you again. And
then we're kind of at the end of this week's
Right.
little demo.
But with funneling the airway, that's one of the major engineering things.
Yeah.
With a stem is to make sure that there's a constant airflow. Like a lot of factory stems are just like a 16th inch drill bit that goes into a 1/8 inch drill bit coming from the other direction, and so there's a shelf in there, and the airflow is it's not very aerodynamic. It still smokes fine, but one of the things with an Artisan stem is to have really good airflow for good smoking ability and longevity of enjoyment.
So, hopefully you're enjoying the footage, and it's helpful for you to visualize how these things are done. And next week we're going to do filing, I think, and stem shaping and polishing.
Stem shaping, which is fun. Most people don't think it's fun. I've grown to think it's fun.
So, I think that's it.
Yeah.
Make sure and sign up for the newsletter, because oftentimes things that don't get shown in the podcast or whatever this is get put in the newsletter, so you can see some pipes that you don't normally see. All right. Well, I'll see you next week.
I think that one worked. I'm sorry, I was just playing. All right,
and scene. All right.